What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about why I am getting Hogwarts Legacy, and you should too. This is my preview series where I take a look at an upcoming game and talk about whether I'm getting it, not getting it, or I'm in the middle. And this is something we've probably been working up to for years, right? I only started this series back in 2020, although I started talking about Hogwarts Legacy back in 2018, and so it's been a long time coming, and I am so excited for this game. So let's talk just a little bit about this game. This is more of like a casual, open thing. We're not going to talk about every single specific point, but I am obviously, very excited. This is a video years in the making. Obviously, the game comes out February 10th on next gen, right, or current gen PS5, Xbox Series S and X, also PC. Then you got to wait a little bit, right, early April for PS4, Xbox One, and then also in the summer in July for the Nintendo Switch. So an extremely staggered release, but the first people that get to play this game get to play it in just a few weeks. February 10th and February 7th if you do that deluxe edition. So we're only a couple of weeks away, and it continues to get very exciting. So this is a game, obviously, it was rumored for years. I talked about it for years. Then it's announced. It's real. You got it at the 2020 PlayStation Showcase in September, and the game does look really good. I'm not here to say, just very generic. I mean, I do have a very limited vocabulary, but I do think this game is going to serve people even beyond the Wizarding World. And to me, that is arguably one of the most important things that this game kind of has to do or will do, right? You can make a game simply just showing off Hogwarts Castle, and I think loads of people are going to be into it. There is zero doubt. People have told me that that's the reason they're buying the game, right? Is to just explore Hogwarts, the grounds, Hogsmeade, etc. But this game, I do think, is going to be more, right? I do think the RPG, obviously open world mechanics, are going to be quite good. I've said it time and time again. I do not think this game is going to be a game of the generation type of game, but I also don't think this game is going to be bad at all. I know there's kind of back and forth of, what has Avalanche done before, and do they have the right people? How good is this game actually going to be? I've settled on, at least my prediction, I think this game is going to be quite good. I do think there could be some, let's say, open world RPG missing mechanics, right? The idea of that fine line between simulation and non-simulation, which people have kind of gone back and forth on. I think people are actually quite okay generally with the non-simulation mechanics this game has gone through, which, by the way, means like it doesn't keep track of the day. It's not Persona. It's not Bully, right? There's an internal game clock, but it only keeps track of day-night. The seasons pass when you do certain missions, right? The missions trigger the next season. So it's not, you're on January 14th and you're on February 10th, right? It's not day-to-day. You don't have a schedule, let's say, to keep in mind that you have to be at potions class at 10:15 a.m., right? It's not like that. And, do people want that? I actually think there are a fair amount of people that want that. And maybe one day we'll get something exactly like that. But that is more of the simulation route. And this game is not trying to be that, right? So you have that. I think the combat in this game looks fantastic. I think the visuals look fantastic. Generally, I've talked about kind of the texture issues that we've seen. But I will say one thing about this game. Every single time we see it, it gets better and better. So when I was talking about textures, maybe, not having that kind of pop or not having that kind of detail, I guess more specifically, that was back at that first gameplay showcase. Every time, even in a 8-second tweet that this game puts out, the game looks better than it did a month ago or 2 months ago. So I'm not saying everything is going to be fixed. So I think visually it's looked, in terms of, again, kind of like a grand nature Hogwarts Castle, the architecture, how everything kind of looks. It looks really good. The finer details, they needed work, and maybe they're fixed by the time the game comes out. Maybe they're not. I mentioned the combat. The combat to me looks really fun. I've always been a fan of it. I know when it was first shown off, the combat, people were quite, kind of in the middle. There were people that really didn't like it, which is, I think I understand, considering it's very slow, it's very almost like robotic, but it's almost like a dance, and that's actually what like casting spells in the lore is kind of like, right? Like you block and you pause, and then you shake your wrist and you fire a spell, then you pause. Like there's a lot of pauses and stops and starts when you're spell casting, and I think it honestly comes through, at least watching it. Like, we haven't been able to touch it, and you could say that's a negative. Really, besides the team of Avalanche, nobody's been able to touch this game. Even when they did those gameplay showcases, Ben and James, right, the gameplay showcase 1 and 2, they weren't allowed to do the combat. The controller was not in their hands. So It may like work for them, the studio, because they're good at it. It may be a complete disaster and they're trying to hide it, but we don't know. We can assume, and I do assume that it's fine and that it'll work, but we don't, fully know that. The story, we don't know too much about it, right? To me, that's the biggest thing about the mystery of this game. You can definitely read it multiple ways, where maybe they're trying to hide it because it's not so good, or maybe they're just trying to be very secretive because they know fans can find out anything based off like 5 seconds of footage. I'm biased, I guess. I lean more towards that. I lean more towards they've been pretty secretive on certain things in this game just because they want that surprise. Now, the things like jumping, taking so long to do it, it was very funny how they did it in a good way, right? On Twitter and stuff. That was great. But like, can you swim in this game? Is there underwater sections? They've talked about how the stuff they've shown us, even right now, to this day, the stuff they've shown us is not all that much, of the game. There's a lot that they've kept close to the chest. And again, you could look at that, either way. I tend to, as we get closer, I tend to think more positively of it, where it's like, guess what? Here's where I think they're at. They feel very confident that people are going to buy this game. So in a sense, why show it? Like, do you need to kind of do unnecessary show-offs of your game? And maybe it's not unnecessary to us, but maybe it is to them. Do you do that when you have these surprises? You think they're going to excite people when they get to do it. Imagine swimming. Imagine an underwater section of this game that we've thought is possible, but we don't know. And you don't know that until the first day. You actually get to go underwater and there's all this stuff. Like, that's cool. And I think that'll very much like excite a lot of people. They don't need to show that. Again, like, do we want them to show it? Yes. Do they need to? Well, why? They got who they want. They got people that are both fans of the Wizarding World or Harry Potter. They have them. They have, I would say, kind of general open world RPG players. They got them. Now, yes, if an open world RPG game is not your cup of tea, you may not jive with this game. If you're not a Wizarding World fan, of course, the game is not going to jive with you. But if you're a mixture of them, or even if you're just one or the other, I think the game's got you, and I think that's what the game was trying to do in the first place. To put it into words, I guess to end this video, like, this is a special game. I'm not saying game of the generation, but this is a game that, myself, I've been waiting for this game for a long time, even in terms of talking about on YouTube. I've been talking about it the longest of, any other YouTube creator. So there's that. But also then you take a couple steps back, even from that, there's people that were waiting for a game like this for decades. There are people that went through the early to mid 2000 Harry Potter games, had to live through that. So God bless them. And they're now getting this game. So there's more depth to it. This is a game, again, I'm not saying it's going to fulfill everybody's hopes and dreams, but this is a game that a lot of people have been waiting for, even some sort of resemblance of this, right? They've been waiting for something close to this for maybe their entire lives. Like, depending on when you were born, your entire life, you've been waiting for this game. And will it match that kind of excitement? That's pretty hard to do. But will it be a game that I think overall satisfies? And again, we'll talk about review scores and stuff in future videos, but do I think this is going to be a very above average game? Yes. I think this game is going to be a great game. I'm very excited. Even with my biasness, even if you take that out, I do think we've seen enough to suggest this game is probably going to be an above average game. And I think a lot of people are very excited for it. So again, this is incredible. I've been doing this series, why I'm getting it, and you should too. I've been doing this for like 3 years now, almost, this series, and to be able to do it on games that mean this much to me, this much to the community, it's quite special to make these specific videos. So let me know. This is the chance. This is the final, I guess, one of the final chances. Let me know in the comments if you're getting it, not getting it, waiting on it. Let me know your situation. Make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on, and I'll see you all on the next one.